Air Gonzalo 511 leave me this comment. Can you make an entire dedicated video as to why you believe the population figures are not true? I know you briefly mentioned some reasons in the video, but a longer, more dedicated video would be super helpful. Mostly because I don't recall ever hearing that the numbers are wrong, at least not in US numbers. Maybe with Russia and China, because people are more skeptical. Okay, let's see. Now, what I'm gonna say here, it's pretty much available from Europe and also from, let's say, North America, US and Canada. So pretty much the Western world. You can include it Australia and New Zealand, but in Australia it's pretty much a different approach there. They have a lot of migration, like in Europe. I'm not gonna include it. I don't know that much about Australia. I'm not gonna include it, but Europe and US, Canada, that I can easily cover. Now, I'm not gonna repeat again. That's the world population right now. That this site, Worldmeter, pretty much estimated, because you can see they change it very quickly. Maybe once, let's say they finish the year, like 2024, they're gonna go to those numbers. I see that they do that usually. They go with on the numbers and they modify it a bit, and usually it's a bit lower. That's one thing. Now, with the population in, let's say, Europe, European already, you can see here the entire Europe. I think they included even Russia here because there are a lot of people. They are already in a deficit. From the native population, look at this, how far they go. Let's see, from pretty much 2017, let's say, with the recent one. I'm not gonna go much downwards, but they're pretty much ruling a deficit. And look at how much migration they have. And of course, with the pandemic, they got hit even further. But after that, the migration still continue, and the European continent still losing a lot of people. In the US, the situation is not exactly like that. I think you can have like USA, Canada, pretty much cover the entire North American, like they classify on this side. You can see here, in the past at least, the native population, let's call it, they are greater numbers than the migrants. In the future, around 2045, you're gonna see that trend reverse. You're gonna have, judging by this side in the future, like I say, it's not gonna be exactly like that, but this is pretty much a trend that this site is trying to estimate. You're gonna see that trend going backwards. You're gonna be a lot of migration, but the native population dropping, according to this site at that time, with the numbers that they released. Now, why I would say that? Let's go back to the map. Let's say we are in Europe right now, and like I say, pretty much you can cover even the US too. But let's go in Europe, because I live in Europe and I saw something firsthand, and it's more relatable. Why I think the numbers are forged. They did not release the real numbers. They keep them for themselves, or even more than that, they don't know what exactly the number is, because they don't wanna know either. The short reason, it's money, as always. But now I'm gonna tell you exactly why is that. So if all the system that we have now in a place, with especially in Europe, because it's much more socialist countries, so pretty much a socialist continent than US. US is going on that route too, but European, they are already there. With those socialist continents and countries, pretty much every single one of those countries in Europe is socialist, especially the northern one and the western part of the continent. When you have a socialist system, the only way you can keep the system working, it's you always, absolutely always, have a growing number of people. You cannot stagnate, you cannot go down. As you can see in that video, in the Germany, for example, they get a lot of migration. Like I said, right now, in Europe, you already have a mass migration, and the native population going down. Even by the number that just released, they're still going down, but I think they're going much further down than they actually release the numbers. Now, if you have a socialist system in place, and let's say a population goes down, what I say about the money, everything goes around them, because if you want to receive the money from the project that you already have in place, and I think in the US you can have that too, especially in the school system, you're going to see a lot of those things. if you have a lower number of people attending the school, if you have schools that they don't have the minimum required for people that go there, you're gonna see that funding going down on them, or even they get cut entirely. So that's one of the reasons they try to keep the numbers forged. They try to keep numbers higher than they actually are, because they still, and everybody is involved in that. You cannot point one finger to someone, because they're the livelihood, they're the jobs in this situation. They're not gonna say it pretty much, okay, we have, these are the real numbers. Even those people don't attend school, they pretty much they never were in that school, or they just moved to other school, and now they keep them pretty much on the paper on both school, and both schools can claim they have this number of students, but in reality it's much lower. That's one thing. The other one thing, especially what I see in Europe, I hope, but I think is that's happening also in the US, but in Europe 100% happening, I can guarantee you that. It's a voting system. When you vote, and like I said, in European, you already have dropping population in pretty much most of the countries. It's not a secret. If you watch the news in Europe, they pretty much recognize that. But like I said, I don't think they go as low as actually they are. When you go to vote in Europe, you go to the polls station, you present your ID, and you are on the list. If they looking you on the list, if you are on that list, they allow you to vote. Now, on that list, not to mentioning pretty much like 50%, I think, from the European vote. So a lot of those, they don't even use their vote. But a lot of people from that on that list, especially in the countryside, they are how would I say? They're already dead, but they still appearing on that list because they need the number of vote to, let's say, tilt the balance from one candidate to another. Depends who needs the vote in that region more than another. That's one thing that they do. So even if you are dead, let's say, especially in the Eastern Europe, but also in the West, I think everybody kind of copy the same system. If it works in one place, you're gonna see it everywhere. Especially if you Western world and everything that it's connected to them, you're gonna see pretty much the same system. And like I said, especially if you have a socialist system or some sort of socialist system in some key domains, like I say, like education is pretty much, even in America, they get funding a lot from the government, from the city. When I involve money, it always fraud there. It's just the way it is. But in Europe, they go even further than that, because they already have US. You might have, like I said, the native population might go down, but in Europe, they're going down much faster, because European pretty much they're much poorer than the Americans. We have much more regulation, and that's another story. It's probably going to be a video by itself. But why do I think the forge the numbers? Like I said, because of money. They need people for the system to work. Like I said, when they go to voting, that's one thing when you actually see it first-handed, because you're gonna see, especially some news in some countries, you're gonna see some, I don't know, 15,000 people in one region appear on the voting list, but they were declared dead for 5 years now. So you're gonna see those people on vote. And the thinking is, if the whole government, the system, it's involved in this charade, nobody's gonna check the real number. So the real numbers might be much higher for those people who are actually dead, but they still appear on the vote. And also in the countryside, especially in Europe, in the cities, I don't think they do that. It is not yet, they don't do it. But in a countryside and in the small cities, they do that too. When you have a number of people that, let's say, the population in one small town, small city is going down and down, under a specific number, that town gets, let's say, they step it down from the town to let's say a village or something like that, something much smaller than that. And once you get from the city, from the small city to a town, or from the town to a village, the funding that you receive from the government, it's much lower. So all those people that are in charge in those regions, even if it's a mayor, or I think in the US they call it government, like I say, in governments, governors in the US, it's pretty much, I think, a different story there. But I think that's what I say. I think they do it in America too. not on that scale that they do it in Europe, but in Europe 100% they do it. When you have, let's say, your region that's losing so much population so fast, let's say once every, I think in Europe you can lose, in some countries you lose a village every day. So you lose like 3,000 people every day, which is a huge number, an insane actually one. Now, when you lose that many people, and you are, let's say, the governor in that region, and you have to pretty much fill the paper for the next year funding, and you have less people than you should you should have to receive as much funding as you can, and you are below that threshold, that prag. Now you're gonna step up a bit the numbers, and this is why I say the numbers are fake, because in every single one of them, and I see it firsthand, they put even the people already dead, they put them on the paper that they are still alive. And this is how you see those numbers. The numbers still going down. They cannot fraud that much, but that's what I say. I think they're going down actually much faster and much quicker than they actually say, because this is exact specific reason. They need money, they need funding, and they're willing to forge some paper to receive that money, at least in Europe. And you can see, even in US, you can see that any system that requires money for the government, and they put in place, let's say, a minimum requirement for the people to attend to that specific program or that school or anything like that, and the people in charge, they get the numbers and they see they cannot reach that minimum requirement, they will forge that paper. So they can see in some regions they're gonna see more people than they actually are in reality. And that's why I think the numbers that the government release are fake, because of the money, and everybody being involved from the lowest level to the highest level in this scheme. It's pretty much an impossible way, because anyone who talks about it and want to do something is gonna lose. They're gonna lose the funding, they lose the money, they lose the jobs, and nobody's gonna attack it because it's not in their own interest. And another thing that I'm looking at, I think this is off topic pretty much. The oil consumption, I think they say by 2030, so in 5 years, the oil consumption is gonna reach the highest level, and after 2030 you're gonna go down in consumption. Okay, you have the renewable energy, you have a lot of new energy source, but even that there is not much. Like I say, you can skip that what I say right now, but I think even that it shows a change in how human consumption goes. And usually when you have that consumption, especially in the Western world, because in let's say countries like Africa, when they don't use that much energy, but in the Western world, like specifically US, Canada, and Europe, when they use a lot of energy, when you see that energy demand going down, something has happened there. Because in Europe, like I said, you can already see the numbers here. In Europe, the population already going down. The only thing they can they can fool us a bit with migration, because look at this, even with that much migration, the numbers are still going down. So you realize how insane it is. Even if that much migration, you cannot even maintain the population, not mentioning the population going older much faster, but you cannot even maintain the number of the people. You're actually going down, even with that insane migration. And you're gonna be 100% sure those are just the legal migration, that you can have some paperwork that can provide. A lot more of those are actually illegal. Like in the US, we have a lot of migration that people, they don't have the papers to prove it. And with all that, the population is still, especially in the US, you can see some growing, but you can see here the yearly changing is going down and down with pretty much every 5 years. So even then it's gonna be some, especially gonna hit that lower numbers, you're gonna see on that minus, they go in especially 2050 here, says here, but let's say 2080, you're gonna see the net population goes down and the migration is still up, and the negative population is gonna be way less if you have, let's say, minus 100,000 people, but the migration is at 2 million. You can realize how bad things they actually are. So that's why I say, in my opinion, this is what I said. Like I said, in Europe I see it firsthand, that I have no doubt. But that's why I think, if you have some socialist program, especially here in the Western world, you're gonna see that numbers are actually not that realistic as they say, because most likely, and like I say, in Europe 100%, there are money involved in it, and everybody at the lowest levels to the higher levels are involved in this. And pretty much, I don't think they want to know. Like I say, they want to know how many people there are in the country, because if you don't know, if you just trust the numbers look good for you, you're not gonna investigate much further. So that's my take on this one. That's why I think the numbers are forged, and probably in the near future we're gonna see. I don't know how much time they have and how much they can run this scheme, but you're gonna bet they're gonna run this scheme as much as they can, because as long as they can get funding from the government, and the government, they're gonna still printing money, because they're gonna justify, like I say, okay, we can have those people that can have to get social security and stuff like that. And even in US, I think they have that system. Then this is how you see how they manipulate the numbers. In the US, 100%, I know that if you are unemployed, let's say they have an unemployment rate, they have like 5% unemployment rate. In this 5%, they calculate only the people who receive the unemployment benefits. If you don't receive that unemployment benefits and you're still not working, they consider you that you are not actually unemployed, you're actually working. Even in reality, you do not work. So you can see how they manipulate the numbers to get the way, to get the funding that they want, to get the numbers that they want. So if they can do that with something like that, you can be sure they can manipulate it at any level they can. So you can get pretty much the money and everything that they want, and the power, like I say, with voting system in Europe, you can tilt the balance from a candidate to another one, which pretty much people that they are no longer between us, but somehow they're still voting. So this is how it works here. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. Now, like I say, for the future, I don't know how much they can run this scheme, but especially in Europe, you're gonna hit that wall pretty soon. But from US, I think you can pretty much do that at least by the mid of the century. This century you can do it. After that, who knows? But like I said, that's my thing. That's what I think, that the numbers are actually not real, and they try to fool us. And not especially, like I say, it's money involved. It's just at every single level. You cannot, I don't know if you can say, the blame the guy who says with the number that there are more people in their school so they can keep the job, so they cannot get fired or something like that. So it's very hard to blame one specific person when pretty much everyone is involved right now. And like I said, the system needs people to work. If the population goes down or even remain the same, it's hard to justify that money, and even more to require more money for the same thing. So yeah, that was the video. I hope I could answer your question. If you are not pleased with my answer, this is my belief. You don't need to have my belief, but this is, I believe, the numbers are forged, and they're not actually the real numbers. And I see that pretty much everywhere I look. Like I said, with the population, I have many friends. I don't have that many friends, but I have a few friends that pretty much my age, and from 5-6 of us, I think just one so far have one child. So the rest of us, and I don't see it happening pretty soon, we do not have kids. So you're gonna see again that population crash even further, especially in the next 10-20 years, when all those people who were born, let's say, around World War II and a bit after that, they're pretty much gonna leave this world. And the population still, the life expectancy goes up, but with those, you don't have that many new population, not that many new people coming in the world. You're gonna hit a wall, I think. And you can see it even here, how many new people coming in the world. I think the pinnacle was in 1990, and after that, especially after the Soviet bloc and the communist fall, they follow with the population. they have a comeback here in the 2015, but after that you can see the numbers goes down and down, which every year, and by 2050 they're gonna say 44 million new people is gonna come in the world. But I think that those numbers are is gonna be much lower actually than they say. So who knows, maybe by 2050 it's gonna be at a zero level, and after that we're gonna go down with the population. Maybe we're never gonna reach that 10 billion, who knows. But that's my video for this time. I hope you like it, and check my other videos, see what you like it, and leave a comment if you want to share your opinion.